Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Douglas Johnson. I am a certified yoga teacher, ordained minister, kirtan artist, amongst other things. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about pain and is this pain good for me? Before I do that though, I do want to thank all the people who help make this possible. This is not just me, but I have people who support me in this work on Patreon, and they make a contribution monthly, some of them quite a lot, some a little bit, but all of it adds up and allows me to approach this as part of what I do. So if you'd like to join that community, please check out the links below, and you can join for free and for as little as $1 a month if you want to make a financial contribution. And then if you're on YouTube, I want to thank everybody who likes, subscribes, shares, and comments, because that does help spread the word. So thank you. Okay, is this pain good for me? What does that mean? Isn't pain bad? Well, the first time I saw that or heard that was from one of my yoga teachers, Paul Grilly. He was a huge influence on me, not so much spiritually. I've had other teachers who were more impactful in terms of my own personal spiritual journey, but professionally, as a yoga teacher, as an instructor, as someone guiding others on this path, Paul, I think, has been more impactful than anybody else I've worked with. And I've worked with quite a few teachers, so it's not like he's the only teacher I've worked with. And I've worked with some really great teachers, teachers who are internationally known, teachers who've set up ashrams, yoga communities, teachers who are quoted by other teachers. So it's not like I have stars in my eyes, or Paul is the one great teacher I've worked with. I've worked with many, but Paul he really has had a huge impact on my teaching and how I share what I've learned. So Paul, when we would work with him in person, he would have different tools that he would use to measure the joints and the body. And his point in using these tools was how different our bodies actually are. No two people are going to be able to do poses in exactly the same way, because no two people have the exact same physique. So on one of the tools, it was a kind of just a ruler. He had written on the side of it, "Is this pain good for me?" ? And he just always had it. But I remember one day he talked specifically about that concept, and he said, this is a question that we always need to be asking ourselves when we're doing yoga postures. So the implication is that there are at least two kinds of pain, at the very least. So what he was implying was one kind of pain is bad. And if you're feeling that kind of pain, you maybe need to stop what you're doing. The other kind of pain was actually good. So again, he was recommending that we be able to pause and stop and ask this question, is this pain good for me? Now, that has become very important again on my journey as a teacher, and also in my own healing, if you will, physical healing. Not so much, I wouldn't put it in a spiritual context, although we could say healing is also spiritual as well. But pain, I think, is a very interesting topic. So what is it? It's a signal, it's communication, it is drawing attention, right? It's sort of like an alert saying, hey, pay attention. The thing that I think I liken to the most would be, say, a light on your dashboard. That is, if you drive a car, I think most of you probably do, there are lights on your dashboard. And if they light up, it's telling you something is amiss, something is wrong, pay attention. And it might tell you what the problem is, or it might be more vague, but it's basically trying to get your attention. So at its most basic, this is my feeling of what pain is. Pain is trying to say, pay attention. Okay, now, what do you do after that, or what should you pay attention to? These are more subtle. But I think the way that we currently in our culture, at least the culture that I grew up in, the way we often approach pain is we just want to get rid of it. So we have lots of painkillers, we have all these kinds of things where it's just like, get rid of the pain. So painkillers are one way, but there are many other ways in which we try and kill the pain. So basically, from the work that I've done and the people I've studied with, addiction is also a type of avoidance of pain, a way to kill the pain. So alcoholism, drug abuse, porn addiction, you name it. And there are lots of addictions like, say, binge watching television, binge eating, overeating, all kinds of things that are more subtle than alcoholism or drug abuse, but are still indicative of the same thing. We're trying to dull or kill the pain. Some people are literally trying to, stuff down the pain with food and with pleasurable experiences. So I want to make this clear because some people might think that, oh, well, I'm not an addict, so he's not talking about me or he's not talking to me. Yes, I am. One of my teachers said, everyone's an addict, and I can't really disagree with that. Just we have more or less subtle addictions, more or less subtle ways that we try and avoid the pain. So pain is this signal, and it's asking us to pay attention. Now, what Paul's point was, I think, was there are certain kinds of pain that when we pay attention to them or we notice them, what the message is basically stop what you're doing. What you're doing is harmful and you should stop. And this is very valuable for us. If I place my hand on a hot burning stove and I feel pain, that pain is trying to alert me, hey, take your hand off the stove. You are damaging your hand. Okay, so you need to remove it. So this is a very valuable use of pain, but what I think is we treat almost all pain in that same way. So again, I remove my hand and the pain stops. What we want is to approach all pain in that same way. So I have a headache. I want to take a pill and make the pain go away. I have a hip pain. I want to have a surgery and make the pain go away. So what I'm trying to draw out here is I think that in these other instances, with the hand, yes, you need to pull your hand off the stove. That is the right response to the pain. But say with the hip or with the headache, what I think is happening with these is the pain is actually asking us to pay attention and to ask questions. That's my sense of it. And that's all I'm trying to do here is share with you my experience, because I have a lot of experience with pain. And this way of thinking about it has been very helpful for me, again, on my healing journey. And again, it basically started with Paul sharing this idea with me. So we very often have a headache, we have a pain in our hip, we have a pain in our back, something else. We just want it to go away. We're not really asking the deeper questions of why is this pain here? Now we may know. So if I had a skiing accident and I fell and I hit my hip and then now my hip hurts, well, I know at least that much. It seems like I did this thing and now there's a pain there. Now the question is, why is the pain not going away? Okay? If everything is okay, then generally the body should heal itself. The pain should go away. If the pain is lingering, then again, I think the communication of the pain has shifted. It's now saying, hey, you need to fix something down there. The hip is not okay. Something needs to be reset. Now, one way that this can show up, interestingly, is we tend to focus on muscles. And something we have much less awareness of is connective tissue and joints. And so very often when we're trying to heal something that's damaged or hurt, we look at rehabilitating the muscle. But it's my understanding that a complete rehabilitation of a damaged area will usually require rehabilitation of the muscle, the joints and connective tissue surrounding the muscle, surrounding the joint, and then also perhaps a resetting of the nervous system. So connective tissue has its own memory, if you will. This is something that I read a while ago. So if the connective tissue has been damaged, traumatized, and let's say you heal the muscle and it seems like everything should be perfect, fine, but you're still having dysfunction and pain, well then that might mean that that connective tissue and or the nervous system has not yet been reset or recalibrated. It is still perhaps in a protective mode. It's trying to protect the joint or the tissue that maybe no longer needs it. But because you walked around for 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years with damage in that hip, the tissue around that area is still traumatized. It's still reacting to that. So this is just an example of where I think the pain is trying to tell us, is trying to signal that something more needs to happen and that we need to investigate deeper. And this is where I feel like many of us were not listening. You know, you might hear somebody say, listen to your body. Well, this is where I feel like in modern times, we're so busy. We're so overwhelmed with communication from other people and from media and from organizations who want our time, they want our money, they want our attention. Everyone's trying to get our attention. So very often when it comes to our own body, we're not paying attention. We feel like we don't have any attention left. But I'll share with you something that I think is very important to understand. And this has just come to me on my own journey. But it's not anyone's responsibility to care about your health. It's only yours. And I don't care what people say, I don't really believe anyone cares more about your health and well-being than you do. So in other words, if you don't have time and energy to ask the question and to investigate when there's pain, no one else is going to do it for you. Now, I'm not saying other people can't help you on your healing journey. I've had help. I have amazing people in my life who are healers, and they are able to do body work with me. They communicate with me. There is a back and forth dialogue and conversation that we have, and they care a lot. They're not just phoning it in. Okay, if I have someone like that in my life phoning it in, I'm just not going to go see them again. And I've had body workers like that. The ones that I keep going back to, these are people who they truly care. They're willing to go above and beyond than just, oh, I'm getting paid, so I'm going to show up and do this. So they care, but I don't think they care more than I do. And so the relationship is they care, they do what they can, but then I am ultimately responsible. And I do, you could say, homework. I will work on my body on my own using yoga postures or self-massage. I will also do research. I will investigate. I will look into possible emotional and mental connections with the pain or the whatever issues are going on with my body. I will try also working with things like lifestyle, like diet or supplementation. Really, all avenues, as far as I'm concerned, are worth exploring, because at the core of it, I truly believe we are meant to be happy and healthy. I know in our culture there's this idea that, you know, as we age, we just have to sort of watch everything fall apart. And what do I know, right? This is my life. So it's not like I've been old before. It's not like I've had a full life. So this is what everyone wants to tell me, that this is just unavoidable. But like most things, I'm a bit of a skeptic. This is why I sort of came to spirituality the way that I did. And with many things that I'm told are just common knowledge, I very often have doubt and I question these things, especially when it comes to health and things, ideas like, well, you can't heal this, or you just have to put up with that. I always question those sorts of narratives because I feel, again, I don't know where I got this idea, but this is just sort of something at my core. It's like a lodestar, a guiding light. For whatever reason, I just feel that we are meant to be healthy, to be happy, to be pain-free. And then again, we're coming back to the topic here. Pain is a signal, it's a communication. It isn't meant to just make you suffer. It isn't there for you to just put up with it. That's my sense, and that's been my experience with pain. So I will say that as I've gotten older, it does seem like there is more things that are coming in that can cause pain, right? When you're young, it just seems like everything just kind of heals itself. And so again, I think that that's just part of the life cycle. When we're young, we just sort of run out and we can do whatever we need to do, and our body just seems to function optimally. As we get a little older, we might have pains that don't seem to heal. We hurt ourselves and they don't seem to heal. And you might also have pains that just show up seemingly out of nowhere. You just wake up one day and something is hurting and you're not even sure where it came from. So again, from my perspective, yes, it's a pain, no pun intended. Wouldn't it be great if we could just be pain-free all the time? But remember, if we understand what pain is, if we see pain as a signal of a deeper underlying problem that needs to be addressed, and we understand that and we're willing to do the work, because again, this is where I think in modern life our priorities are kind of turned around. Many of us are so focused on accumulating material wealth, the next house we're going to buy, the new car that we need to get, the expensive college that we need to send our children to, whatever it is, we're so busy doing all this stuff that when our body is calling to us, right, which is what pain is, our body is saying, hey, 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 pay attention to me, listen to me, okay? Most of us are just too busy to do that. That's what we are telling ourselves. Nope, I don't have time for that. Let me take a painkiller. I'm going to go to the doctor. What do we want from the doctor? We want the doctor to make it go away. We want the doctor to give us a pill or surgery, and it just disappears. And again, my own experience is with at least some of these things, it's not that easy and it's not that simple. And I actually think that that is a gift to us if we understand what we're being given. So again, the pain is like the light on the dashboard. If the light on the dashboard is saying check engine, removing the light from the dashboard doesn't solve the problem. The light was an indicator of a deeper problem. If you ignore the light, then if you don't check your engine will probably fail sooner or later, and probably sooner if that light is going off. Okay, so I think we have this beautiful system with our body. And I'll say this because I think sometimes we're given explanations by science and medicine that lead us to what might seem like a dead end, where it seems like we're just experiencing needless pain for no reason. And this is where we move, in my view, into the more spiritual realms. So I'm not going to deny that perhaps from a scientific or physical only perspective, we might be put in a situation where there's just a lot of pain and it seems almost like there's no solution or there's no cure or there's no reason. But this is where I find that moving into the spiritual is, I feel like that's what is happening there. And as someone who's been on this path for most of my life at this point, I think that's very powerful. And again, the pain is not a disservice. It's not our enemy. It's not, it's windy. It's not something that we should simply just try and eliminate or get rid of. It is something that is a pointer. And it is, again, trying to get us to pay attention. And the pain, where it is, if it's a physical pain, that may not actually be what needs help. And that's where asking questions and investigating can be a very important part of this process. And that could be physically, right? I could have a pain in my right hip, but that could actually be caused by my foot, by my shoes. It could also be caused by my left hip or back. So, like Tom Myers says, where the pain is, the problem isn't. So what you'll sometimes find is physically that's the case. However, interestingly, having worked with people like Scott Killaby and others, sometimes a physical pain is caused by emotional repression. It's caused by emotions that we won't face. And it's not just Scott who says this. John Sarno, who is a back doctor who wrote a book called Mind Over Back Pain, he talks about this as well. So again, I have a physical pain. Very often, most people will think that, well, it's a physical problem. But I remember early on studying Zen, and there's a Zen saying that I really like: still body, still mind. And I love that because it's really pointing to the fact that the brain, the mind, tries to separate everything. Oh, this is a physical problem. This is a spiritual problem. This is an emotional problem. This is, right? We have our psychiatrist. We have our dietitian. We have our primary doctor. We have our surgeon. We have our body worker. But I think what you find in reality is everything is interconnected. Everything is interrelated. So can deep emotional wounds create chronic physical pain? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to be willing to go there, right? To inquire. And that's the main tool that we use to see and investigate: inquiry. So ultimately, I think it's all interrelated. Where we are in our journey, what's happening with us physically, emotionally, mentally, professionally, romantically, socially. I think it's all interrelated. And I think if you're watching this, you know, you've probably heard me say before, it's not about bad or good. It's, in a sense, it's all good, or it's all neutral, however you prefer to think of it. I tend to think of it as it's all good, in a transcendent way, not in a personalized way. Because personally, yeah, good and bad very much can exist on a personal level. But spiritually, when we're talking about spiritually, we're really talking about something that transcends the personal. So I hope this was helpful. There may be more that I will want to say about this in the future. I'm not sure, but this is just a talk I wanted to give candidly. I didn't think in advance of all the things I wanted to say, but this is something that's been coming up a lot for me. Pain and my relationship with it, and what do I do when I encounter pain, feel pain? What should we do? How should we approach it? And so again, my approach currently is to stop, ask questions, investigate. Yes, sometimes the response, if your hand is on a hot stove, and again, that's just one example. Emotionally, that can happen as well, right? Where we're maybe in a toxic relationship and there's a lot of pain there, and we need to take ourselves out of that. And in fact, if we can't, that could mean that there's something wrong with us, right? We actually feel like we deserve that pain. We deserve to be punished. We deserve to be treated poorly, okay? So that can actually be an indicator there. But some pain, take your hand off the stove. That is the right approach. Stop doing what you're doing. And this can show up in yoga, postures, right? Some things, that's why Paul had that written. Is this pain good for me? What he was implying is some pain will not be good for you. You should stop. But what he was also implying is some pain will be good for you and will be important on your journey to wholeness, to healing, to growth. If you run away from that pain, if you try and avoid that pain, you will just make things worse ultimately, or you will miss an opportunity to grow, to learn, to heal. And I think we see a lot of this. We see a lot of people who are not healed, who have chronic issues, and they're not sure how to heal them, and they think that there's no way to heal. Again, for me, at least currently, and possibly to my grave, I will believe that there is a way for us to heal and be whole, so we feel the joy and happiness that is possible in this life. All right, everyone, I hope that was helpful. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share. And check out the links below if you'd like to help me continue doing this work with a financial contribution. I'd love to hear from you, so say hello, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, namaste, and have a beautiful, beautiful